Hi there, this is Kathie from Craft with Kathie. Today's project is going to illustrate how you chalk on glass and paper. And to do this, I'm using a shadow box. And I actually was trying to decide between these two transfers and ended up using them both because of a mistake that I made. And I'm going to leave the mistake in so that it just cautions you when you are chalking on paper. It's really not that big of a deal, just a little heads up to show you what to watch out for. My first attempt was using the Make Today Yours. The idea was to chalk the words Make and Today on the paper at the back of the shadow box and chalk the word Yours on the front so it would emphasize the dimension of the shadow box. I already cut this beautiful melon speckled paper, cardstock, to 9 by 9 inches, which is the size of the shadow box. It reminded me of dappled sunlight coming through the trees, and I thought it would be a great counterpoint to doing the wording in black. So once I had decided on the colored chalk paste that I was going to use, it was then on to preparing the paper. Two things that you need to do when chalking on paper. First and foremost, you want to protect your transfer. So the first thing you want to do is put a barrier on the cardstock or the paper that you're going to be using. And the best way to do that is with paste wax. And it's very simple. Basically all you do is rub some paste wax on your paper, gently of course, and then rub it off. No need to wait for it to dry. You just want to put a thin coating of paste wax on your paper so that your transfer doesn't stick and pull up the paper, because our transfers are adhesive backed. I found that the easiest way to do this is to basically take some paste wax, apply it to the center of the paper, and spread it over the paper in circles, gently of course. And then once I have the entire piece of paper covered, then I just remove it. This will lessen the ability of the transfer to stick to the paper. So just spread the wax on from the inside out. No need to let it dry or anything. Once you have the paper totally covered, just remove the excess wax with a paper towel or with a cloth. That's all there is to it. Our transfers are made out of vinyl, which is the teal, and silk screen, and you're seeing through the silk screen into the paper backing on the back. One side of the paper has kind of like a waxy finish, which goes against the adhesive side of our transfer. Our transfers are adhesive, and the other side is dull. So when you put this back together after you clean it, you always want to make shiny side goes to the shiny side of the transfer, or the adhesive side. Our transfers are reusable 8 to 12 times or more. And buzzing is just putting it on the teary side, picking up a little bit of lint, putting it back down, and grabbing some more lint. And being that this is a brand new transfer that I've never used, and I'm going to be putting it on paper, and then I'm going to be putting it on glass, I'm going to buzz quite a bit. And the idea is I want to be able to lift the transfer off my surface first without pulling up the paper, but also when I have it on the glass, I don't want it to fit so snugly that when I go to lift the transfer, I stretch it or distort it. It sounds complicated, it's not. You know, you do it a couple times, you get a feel for it. Just know you want to fuzz well for paper or glass or metal, or windows, of course. Okay. I'm just trying to get it lined up top to bottom. I think this is good. Smoothing it down, making sure there aren't any air bubbles. And I'm really not smoothing too hard on the yours because I'm not going to chalk that. I'm just going to chalk the make today. And see how that lifted up so easily because of the wax underneath it? So when I apply my paste, I want to be a little careful not to have the transfer scoot around on me. Now the downside is, because I've waxed and I've fuzzed so much, I have to be careful that this transfer doesn't slide on my paper. And I thought I was doing things well at the beginning. I actually was holding my transfer in place with my fingers, but at some point I let go of it, and when I was applying the paste, the transfer actually scooted away from the paper and caused the print underneath to blur. And I also went off the side a little bit. When the paper scooted away from me, or when the transfer scooted away from me, I blurred the M and the A. Otherwise it would have looked pretty nice if it wasn't for this and me going off the paper. So now that I've shown you what not to do, let me show you how to do it the correct way. So step 1, wax my paper. Remove any of the excess wax from the paper. No need to let it dry in between. Then step number 2 is I'm going to fuzz my transfer on the terry cloth side of my fuzzing cloth. And I've decided for this one, being that I'm using a different type of cardstock, I'm going to use the Harvest Shimmer instead of the black. So as this transfer has been used quite a bit, a good number of times by me, it's not quite as sticky as the brand new transfer was, so I'm not fuzzing it quite as much. I'm going to apply it to my cardstock, center it, press it down, make sure there aren't any air bubbles underneath any of the silk screen, hold it in place, and apply my chalk paste to the lettering like ah. This way I'm guaranteeing that the transfer doesn't shift as I'm applying the paste. You know what, I was going to clean it, but I actually don't have to. Being that this is glass, if I get any smearing with the letters that I've already chalked, no problem. It'll just wipe right off. I was going to try and do this without taking the glass out, but I don't think that's going to work. You always want your glass to be clean, so it's a good idea to have wiped it down with alcohol before you chalk on it. Okay, now I want to press this down gently. I'm avoiding the words like a. Okay. And the reason I chalked on the paper and then I'm now chalking on the glass is I wanted the dimension to show. Okay, I'm going to hold this in place and chalk outwards. I'm holding the transfer securely with my left hand to make sure that it doesn't slide or scoot as I'm actually applying the paste. I don't want a repeat of the previous try. Now think about this. This means you could chalk your windows, you could chalk your mirrors. If you want to put stars all over your windows for Memorial Day, you could do it, or for Independence Day. I actually was going to do snowflakes on the front windows this past winter, but decided not to because I thought I might be tempting fate. We might get worse weather. I just didn't have the courage to do it. It's like, I'm not a real big fan of snow. And it was pretty mild all in all until when we really got hit. We did day after day after day until the house looked like something from the North Pole. One of the neighbors actually sent me a picture of it. It was like, yes, there were drips on the roof, overhanging the roof, overhanging the overhang, that were just pretty hard to believe. Okay, I've removed the excess chalk. I'm going to lift this from the side, and even though I fuzzed it a lot, it's not coming up easy. That's why you fuzz it a lot. I want to lift it gently. I'm going to hold my glass down. There we go. Let me put this aside. Kind of like almost like a linen background, and there were like little pins in there that you could adjust and do whatever in your shadow box. So I'll have to give a little bit of thought as to what kind of memorabilia or embellishments or whatever would look good in the actual box. And assemble my shadow box back together here. Well, after letting this sit for a day, I thought it needed a little bit more oomph behind it, so I added the black velvet paste over the gold shimmer, which I think goes well with the frame of the shadow box. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. See you soon.